Hi there. Welcome to Business Leadership Podcast. At this podcast, I interview successful business leaders and industry experts to help you grow your business. In this episode, I had a discussion with Derek Gallimore, CEO of Outsource Accelerator, world's leading outsourcing marketplace and advisory. Derek has been in business since his first venture at 17. He has traveled extensively and lived in more than 5 countries. This blend of travel and business means that Derek is very familiar with a wide variety of business models, work culture, and methodologies. Derek was introduced to outsourcing in 2011 when he needed a solution to a 24/7 staffing requirement and simply could not afford the high labor cost of the West. Since 2011, Derek has become completely immersed in the world of outsourcing. He's now one of the industry's biggest advocates. He founded Outsource Accelerator in response to growing need for an independent source of outsourcing information and education. He's also an author of Inside Outsourcing: How Remote Work, Offshoring, and Global Employment is Changing the World. This was a very interesting discussion. We talked about various different aspects of a business and leadership. As soon as we talk about outsourcing in a business community, we all think of poor quality, unethical salaries, and inhumane conditions. Yet, Apple, Google, Microsoft, IBM, all Fortune 500 companies, they outsource, and this industry is growing. David shared insights on all the negative perception of outsourcing. He also shared financial benefits for companies. You could be saving up to 70% of a staffing cost. He talked about talent pool, working conditions, also time zone approaches to different, when you're trying to provide customer service 24 hours. Outsourcing may not be an option for everybody, but if you have a very straightforward business process, or if you have a very transactional process, and you're looking to control costs, this may be an option worth exploring. This may be that option that provides you, the cost saving that what you're looking for, or simply just trying to control cost, or looking for 24-hour customer service for your staff as well. So, if you like these discussions and you find a value in it, don't forget to share this content with your colleague. Until next time, please welcome Derek Gallimore. Hi guys, welcome to Business Leadership Podcast. Today my guest is Derek Gallimore. Derek, your expertise in the area of your expertise, everybody's thinking about outsourcing or some sort of either outsourcing the company, outsourcing to different countries. So I'm looking forward to discussion, looking forward to learning from you, because you've been helping companies for many years in an outsourcing process. So I'm looking forward to learning from you. Thank you so much for your time. Welcome to podcast.
Hi, Gurmeet. Thank you so much for having me. I'm also excited to be here. So happy to get into it.
Interesting. So if you can just walk up as audience through, what is the Outsourcing Accelerator? What is it all about?
Yeah, so we are Outsource Accelerator, which is really like the TripAdvisor for the outsourcing industry. We list about 3,000 outsourcing firms globally. Wow. And that covers the whole spectrum of outsourcing, right from the big call centers down to the smaller next-gen outsourcing firms or offshore staffing or staff leasing. We cover that whole spectrum. What we don't cover is the kind of freelancers and gig workers. You can go to Upwork for that.
Got it. So is there specific industries that what are your thoughts on what we gone through for the last few years, disruption? What happened with outsourcing? Was it accelerated? I'm sure when business owners are thinking about, hey, if somebody going to work from home, why do I have to think about this problem? Why not working home overseas as well?
Exactly. And look, it covers every sector, because fundamentally what I talk about is not outsourcing as a concept or call centers as a concept, but it's actually global employment, okay, or offshore staffing. And it's the concept, as a lot of people have really sort of experienced over the last couple of years. It's the concept of, if you can work remote, then you're not actually restrained to where you should employ and hire your talent pool from. So you can start to look globally for your talent pool. When you do that, of course, you open up the catchment area to potentially 7 billion people. And of course, there's a lot of great cost savings with that. So it's just it's huge. And there's just such a vast opportunity for people to hire now globally instead of their local market.
Mm-hmm. I mentioned very interesting, the talent pool, Derek. That talent pool is every country struggling. I know US is struggling, Canada is struggling. we all struggle with the talent, especially the top level. Where you at, if you just walk our audience through, and what kind of talent you are exposed to? What do you have in your, compared to if you know a little bit about a North American talent, like what's the difference you see with different talents?
Yeah, look, in short, it's identical. Think of it as identical. A lot of people associate offshoring or outsourcing with these VAs or assistants or basic kind of activities. That is absolute myth. I have been living in the Philippines for the last 10 years. I'm currently now based in Manila. And, within the Philippines, you have multi-billion dollar companies, you have conglomerates, you have MBAs, you have Harvard graduates. Within the Philippines as well, you have major companies like JP Morgan, Facebook, Google, Nestle, Procter and Gamble, Coca-Cola, Amazon. Every large company is based in the Philippines, and you get anything you want in the Philippines. For the more sort of standard industry and employers, you can easily find developers, accountants, bookkeepers, designers, marketers, SDRs, salespeople, administrators, the whole gambit. And what people tend to do as a knee jerk when they think of outsourcing is, let's get basic administrators or VAs. Let's pay them as little as we can and go for the basic roles. And then people get disappointed. But actually what you should be doing is seeking out the top professionals and paying them well, but you'll still be saving significant money, and you'll be accessing fantastic, highly capable staff that you won't be disappointed with.
Got it. So the reason people outsource, one of the item you mentioned, the top talent. If you want to pull top talent, you look at for. What are the other reasons you mentioned that to people, that the reason people companies look for outsourcing?
Yeah. So the outsourcing industry is a big industry. A lot of people think that it is either just the call centers or, on the other end of the spectrum,
that's a perception,
the virtual assistants. Within the industry, it's a $250 billion industry that's been going about 30 years. It's a highly sophisticated industry. It collectively employs about 10 million people globally within this industry. Now, within that spectrum, you have the big call centers, but we primarily focus on staff leasing or staff augmentation. And that is the ideal kind of relationship or partnership for SMEs, SMBs in the West if they're looking for extra staffing. Now, the benefits of it is that you get access to a vast talent pool, millions and millions of people, and very high caliber, just simply because the talent pool is so much bigger. You typically save 50 to 70% of your all-in staffing costs. So that's a really significant saving. But don't just look at it for savings alone. You also, when you partner with a reputable outsourcing firm, you also get a really strong, valuable partnership to help you build out your operations offshore. Typically, that outsourcing firm would provide A-grade, B-grade office facilities as required. The staff would have, a proper environment to work from, a little bit like we work. So they have a great environment. They have the ping pong tables. They have, the lounge and the kitchen and all that sort of stuff. They have dedicated desk, and beyond WeWork, they actually provide all of the hardware, all the telephony, all of the IT, security, firewalls, and also the employment layer. So they are properly employed. They have all of their benefits, all of the compliance, and all of that invoicing thing is done for you, wrapped up into one easy payment. So you get all of that kind of a white glove service where all of the sort of annoying admin of running a business is managed for you. And you can just focus on doing the core activities, the core high value activities with your staff. On top of that, that's an amazing deal. And on top of that, you get to save about 50 to 70% compared to hiring locally. It's just an incredible opportunity.
So that 50 to 7 is, you mentioned the number, that's an overall cost, Derek, or is it simply just on a payroll cost, or is it it included taxes and all that stuff? Because we pay high taxes in Canada and payroll taxes.
Yeah, look, it's a rough estimate because of course it depends if you are, sorry, I don't know Canada so well, but if you're hiring in central Manhattan versus Idaho, like salaries change significantly, and also the costs of employment change significantly. To use America as a sort of example, which I apologize for, but on top of the salary. Firstly, salaries vary significantly. Okay. People ask me, how much is a salesperson offshore? And well, the answer is I put it back to them. How much is a salesperson in Canada? There would be a $40,000 salesperson, a $400,000 salesperson, and a $4 million salesperson. And I'm sure each of them provide excellent value for what they're getting paid. On top of the base salary, you typically have a lot of employer costs and contributions. There's employer tax, there's healthcare, things of that nature. You also have overheads like, all of the electronics, hardware, IT, support, HR, all of the compliance, all of the legals, all of that sort of stuff. So when you add all of that up, because you really need to compare like for like, you will typically save about 50 to 70% on all of those costs. So really significant saving.
How about gaining some competitive advantage over different time zones, Derek? I know if we work 8 to 5, if you're in North America, you're providing 8 to 5, but you may have some customers that work in a different time zones, right? Having a partner like you offshore, you could be able to accommodate the different time zone for customer service as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. Look, the reason why I first started outsourcing, it was in about 2011, and I had a service corporate housing company in central London. Okay, so hotels and hospitality. And I very quickly realized I needed 24/7 customer service because people were booking from all over the world with different time zones. And of course, you had guests staying 24/7. So they needed attention whenever they needed attention. And I quickly realized that it was too expensive in London. So I went to the Philippines. Now, the Philippines is the opposite time zone. So as you say, you can chase the sun, as people sort of call it, where you have different shifts according to different time zones. But also, there's the vast majority of the outsourcing industry in the Philippines works night shift in their local time, which is daytime in Canada, US. So it is very, very common and very acceptable for people in the Philippines to work whatever hours you need them, including your daytime hours in Canada, US. It's very, very common in the industry.
Yeah, so there's a series of benefits. Not only, people think about the cost or some offshoring, some administration stuff, but there's a lot of other benefits as well if you look at it from the holistically, many different angles.
Super, super. And, as you say, like having two shifts so that you could have a day shift getting the work done as you need it, but then you can have someone working overnight so that the work you have generated by the end of the workday is then done for you the next morning. Works, it's incredible. Yeah.
Got it. So one of the items I want to talk to you, Derek, about is I know I talked to a lot of business leaders and they all have some sort of perception, but you mentioned a couple of them. They always have some. I'm hoping you can take on that. So because these discussions for me as well. I'm also on the same boat, and I'm thinking that how do you guys handle this stuff, right? So can I throw some stuff at you? Maybe
bring it on.
Give us some perspective.
Do it.
So one of the items I always think that how do you guys deal with the turnover? Like we when we have people in front of us in outsourcing, we get people in front of us. We can manage the turnover. How do these companies make a turnover that is not impacting the business? If there's a turnover in a business, if I'm working with 5 resources, let's say I employ 5 people. And then there's a turnover. How do you guys handle that?
Yeah, look, I wrote a book actually, Gurmeet, all about outsourcing. And when it got to the section where I'm talking about the action, sort of the tactics of outsourcing and how to manage outsourcing, I really realized that actually all of the fundamentals of how to outsource are completely the same as management fundamentals, onshore. And those common things, such as how you delegate properly, how you manage a team properly, how you get them on board with your mission, how you recruit people, how you manage accountability, all of that. All of it is basically identical, but it's a little bit different because culturally they are different, and you have to acknowledge different sort of cultural interactions and communication interactions and all of that. But the fundamentals of employment and management are identical. Now, with turnover, what you find is in Canada, you will find that there are jobs with high turnover and jobs with low turnover. I would expect, I've never been to Canada, apart from Niagara Falls, actually. I would suspect that, in Amazon warehouses, in McDonald's, in shitty factory jobs, in call centers in Canada, you would have high turnover because you're getting the sort of younger people that aren't so committed. Yet you have developers, you have designers, you have people in the tech industry, you have, I don't know, maybe engineers that have low turnover. And it's identical really in offshore staffing. It is identical in the call center industry. Now, big call centers, the things you think of when you're thinking of big customer service jobs or medical billing or these highly repetitive functions, they are effectively like a factory of people. Okay. And the big call centers have 700,000 employees. They have 500,000 employees. Small ones are about 100,000 employees. And for them, employment and the function that those employees do it's a conveyor belt of humanity. Now, don't get me wrong, they're treated well. There's, generally the conditions and standards within outsourcing are fantastic, and they're beautiful, restaurants and break bars. But in those big organizations, you are a cog in a wheel and you are a number. And the work that they are doing is repetitive and tedious, and they don't really have the opportunity of bettering their career. Very high turnover in those kind of environments because as well, they're in demand. So they know they can job hop. Okay. Now, I bet you that's almost identical to Canada as well, if you're in that segment of the market. Whereas if you are a nice tech startup, there's 10 of you in a garage, you have pizza together, you get on well, you talk about your family with each other, and you're more than just sort of a face on a screen doing KPIs, then people hang around and people enjoy that. And, there is zero problem with retention in those environments. So it really depends on the role and the opportunities of that person.
So it's the same approach as you mentioned that even in these countries, if there's a turnover, how do you make avoid impact on a business? You build some process, build some systems, build some solutions, and build some training around it, so you can train anybody in a very very short period of time to deal with the turnover. I'm assuming that you're saying that you will deal with the exact same way. That if you were outsourcing, you will build a bunch of systems, some training around it, so you can bring somebody else new and deal with the minimum impact on a business.
Yeah, absolutely. And as well, if you have, it depends how big a business is. Now, of course, and outsourcing allows you to have some duplication because there is a single point of failure. If there's someone in your company managing all of marketing, whether they're in Canada or the Philippines, and they leave, it's tough, it's tough because there isn't that handover. But if you do have sort of duplication, or you have two people in the department or a senior and a junior, then you don't have that exposure and risk so much. And, that is an opportunity in the Philippines as well, because it's not so expensive. The incremental cost of adding another person is not so high. You don't have to mortgage your house to get the next employee. You can just kind of add them on. So it does help a lot.
So you could lower the risk as well. So what you're saying is, if you have a one employee who does everything, in order for it to lower the risk, you can have a second employees and offshores and just in case something happened, at least you have you manage your risks that way.
Absolutely. Bigger businesses, again, in Canada, US, they work in these redundancy safety Okay. You typically have protection for redundancy if people leave quickly. You have people in the department that can take over. All of the top execs, you would have succession plans in case people leave or they die. So all of these exist. But I understand with small businesses, you can't afford that, man. You know what I mean? When you're paying people 150,000, you can't just have some extra bloke on the side just in case something happens. However, in the Philippines, there is more of that opportunity because if that incremental extra person, like instead of having a marketing head, you also have a marketing assistant, all in, they could cost 25,000 bucks a year, and that's not so painful as hiring another $150,000 person kind of thing.
Very interesting. So you can lower your risk that way a little bit. So how about the building the team environment and the culture and that team spirit, that Derek? How do you handle that? And is the language difference or cultural difference that what you just mentioned, that is it a is it too big, or is it easy to get over because we have a common language, or how do companies deal with that?
Yeah, and again, in Canada, every company is different. Some people are very kumbaya and dance around the campfires, and some companies are like, you're great, but we're remote. Just get on with your work. Again, there's no perfect way of running a culture. The Filipinos generally are very warm. They're very, very connection-centric. They're very social. And they're quite sentient beings. They respond quickly to being stressed or unhappy or worried about their work and things like that. And so, as an ideal employer, you want to treat them like they are part of your team and bring them in and talk about their weekend and their family, and just as you would normal employees, your standard staff. What you definitely don't want to do is kind of have a two-tier thing. Like if you've got 10 staff in Canada and then 10 staff in the Philippines, and they're treated completely different. The people in the Philippines are just a number, and they're the outsource team. There's no need for that to happen. Now, how do you build culture remotely is a different question. And that's something the whole world has been grappling with since COVID. It is a little bit harder to build very strong bonds, I believe, when people are remote, when people are working from their homes, and again, that's a similar issue to what Canadians are grappling with if they're a remote organization. But there's a lot of SOPs for that, and there are a lot of ways around that. But yeah, it's just being conscious about that, and if you're making an effort, then the staff will love you. Also, what significantly, and this is the benefit of being an outsourcing firm or having your staff with an outsourcing firm. You can think about them as like a WeWork environment or a co-working, and so they have you as their boss. And hopefully their colleagues within your organization that they're working with and chatting with and slacking with and stuff. But also they will have people around them in the environment from the same outsourcing firm that they will also have, dinners and after work drinks and Christmas parties and summer parties and things like that. So it's kind of like co-parenting where they feel loved by two people, and so you create a warm environment where they love to go to work, basically.
So, like about some of the challenges, what do you see? Some of the challenges, where do some of the companies fail? Where do the business leaders make mistake when they're trying to outsource? What do you see? Some of the challenges that most business leaders up against, and what do they fail? What are the common mistakes we see?
Yeah, well, look, I think you're being a bit too polite before. Look, a lot of people have criticism for outsourcing. People say they've tried it and they're no good. And, I think that there's quite a big hangover from also the associations with call centers. People phone up call centers and they can't get the help they need and stuff like that. So, there are these concerns for outsourcing and offshoring and, maybe Philippines. I would suggest you need to hire stronger, better, more capable staff and shoot for the top of the pile instead of the bottom of the pile, and don't be too price sensitive. Okay.
So you mean in talent pool, go to the top instead of that's what you mean. Okay, got it.
Yeah. And, as well, if you are I don't know, startup in Calgary, you have a very limited budget. You cannot hire the top candidates that are going to Silicon Valley. You can't afford to pay the $300,000 salaries. You're out of that league. Whereas if you come to the Philippines virtually, you can still hire the best of the best, because if you are an interesting company, people really want to work for offshore companies, whether it's Canada, they want to work direct with the employers, which is referred to as captive. And they're really excited by that stuff. And, the difference between a good salary and a great salary might be $2,000 a month versus $3,000 a month, which is affordable to that Calgary startup, and they're not sort of trying to decide whether they can afford someone on $30,000 a month in Canada. So, yeah, shoot a little bit higher, and also look for capable people with a great CV, and really try, I don't want to be too elitist, but try and avoid the ad hoc freelance gig work kind of crowd. Okay. And I don't want to be too dismissive of them, but if I was to give you another analogy, and sorry for the US, but if you're looking to hire someone great, there's the character on Wall Street that's wearing a beautiful suit. He's got a briefcase. He's well dressed. He's heading into work at 7 a.m. in the morning. You kind of get the feeling that person is a killer, got a great CV, been to a great university, and will do well for you. Whereas the gig worker is kind of the part-time student that you met in the bar after work, and he's a little bit unshaven, and he'll kind of work with you, but you're not sure about it. There's these two sort of archetypes. They exist in Canada, and they also exist in the Philippines. And the better class of professional are those that have a great CV. They are career driven. They want to work for a proper organization. They want to be employed as opposed to contract work. They want their benefits that normal employees get. And, it comes as a package. And typically they want to work from an office as well, because that's where people hungry to develop their career want to be.
Yeah, they're looking for career as well, the same as people in Canada. So exactly. What I'm hearing is, because the cost difference is so significant, you can go couple notch up on a talent pool and still there's a cost difference, even though go couple notches. So let's talk about companies like us. I'll talk about my business. We're simply we are hungry for top talent. We're not looking for mediocre. There's level three levels in IT services, level 1, level 2, level 3. We only go for level 3. Even that we have another niche up, right? So top-notch technical skill, top-notch business acumen as well. Those 2 skills, and a third one is the communication. Those 3 skills we look for. They has to be top-notch. So if somebody looking for that kind of top-notch skill set and that not afraid to pay a little bit extra, what is that comparable to Canada skill set compared to a Philippine skill set? Do you find the same? If I'm looking for top technical skill set, and I'm also looking for top business acumen as well, the person understand they can translate technology into business, and a third one is communication. Are they on the same level in North America compared to Philippines as well, or you see a lot of difference there?
Yeah, look, they are here. You can get good technical people, like especially now, in the last 5 or 10 years, it's really, really developed. The industry's been going 30 years. So you're getting, generations of good talent. The technical people are very good. They aren't so strong with strong strategic initiative and thinking, very high level, think through the strategy and build out the architecture of things, not so strong. And you will have to sort of develop those. Now, of course, there's some of everyone in the Philippines. I mean, there's 110 million people. They have about 750,000 graduates every year. And again, as I've mentioned, you can find MBA graduates, you can find Harvard graduates in the Philippines, so you can get literally whatever you want at whatever caliber you want. But generally not so strong on strategy, very good, fine in terms of technical, hardcore sort of technical stuff. And
the communication is good.
Also,
communication is good.
Yeah, communication is fine actually. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
So how does the process work, Derek? If I say, Derek, listen, I need about 15, 20 people for this technical skill set. So do you guys have a process where you go, okay, let me go interview these people. I'm going to build a pool for you, and then we start the process, or you guys go through that regardless whether I need it or not? You guys continue to go through to keep a pool of people when somebody needed. You have that talent pool available for people.
Yeah. So, I mean, we can work through exactly that scenario. So let's say you wanted 15 people of about 5 different roles. Okay. What we would do is, so we have an incubator in the facility. It's an A grade. We have the entire floor on the penthouse on the 43rd floor in Ortigas Center in the center of Manila. Beautiful, beautiful office. The way the fees work there is it is $600 per person per desk. Okay. And that includes all of the facilities, dedicated desk, dedicated hardware with dual screen 24-inch monitors. All of that stuff is standard. It includes all of the employment, so all the employment compliance and things like that. And also basic account management, which is like co-parenting, all of the HR, things like that. That is the fee that comes to us. That is the only fee that comes to us. Okay. Now, in terms of the salary would be whatever the market salary is for those roles. And we would literally write down every single role. We would establish job descriptions for each of those roles and the numbers of each of those roles. We would go out to market. We can give you very, very accurate estimates of the market salary, or certainly a range. Within a couple of days, we could have example CVs of real people on the market with real salaries. And then we would go out to market to find those people. On top of that salary, so the salary basically is paid at cost. There is no markup, no margin on the salary. On top of the salary, though, there is about 20 to 25% on top, which is government contributions, employer tax, HMO, healthcare, things like that. None of that, again, comes to us. It all goes either to the government or the healthcare or whatever. Mm-hmm. So we basically would, create that sheet. We would then go out to market looking for those exact roles, and it would be recruited specifically for your needs. We would go through the entire recruitment process. We do job interviews according to the job description. We shortlist them. We show you the shortlist. Any that you greenlight, we would arrange an interview. We join you on that interview, or you can take that interview by yourself, but we would arrange it all and get feedback. If there's any you like, we greenlight it and employ them. We, of course, do health checks and referencing and things like that. And then we move to employ. So that's basically the whole process.
Got it. So you work together as a team. That is the same way that I will go through recruiting process. You will do a lot of legwork and then I'll select. So that makes life
absolutely
very easier for business owners or I know colleagues. They spend a lot of time recruiting, even in North America. It's very time consuming process. So, but you taking on some of that stuff and doing all the background checks and all that stuff. So we just have to select the top whatever talent we want.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Look, and being realistic, it's still very competitive in the Philippines. So if you want, hard or rare jobs, it's not a walk in the park, and it's competitive, and you have to move fast, and then you'll find a good candidate and they might have got another job already. It's tough in Canada and the US at the moment. There's a skill shortage, and it's pretty much the same in the Philippines. But there's a lot of people, there's a lot of people, and you can find those staff. Yeah. And it is just a process. If you want basic administrative or common roles, that could be a recruitment process of, 2 weeks. If they're more rare or sophisticated or technical roles, it could be 6 to 8 weeks, it really just depends on the market. But we would give you that feedback, and you would see it progressing.
Do the vacation works the same way in Canada or in US or in the Philippines? Do they have a same align the same time, or because we have a lot of long weekends in the summer? Sometimes I look for people who could provide service. Do they work the same way that or is it different vacations that we have to be concerned about?
Yeah, you would set expectations from the start. So if you want them to work your hours, which I would recommend, then that goes into the job description. I would recommend they work your hours, your days on as well. If the job becomes asynchronous, like it's a developer and it's not critical that they're there every day, then there could be flex on that. Whereas if they are customer service, or there's, like they need to be there for certain hours for coverage, absolutely they work your days on and have your days off, for example. Now, there's very strict labor laws in the Philippines, and they have certain, holiday benefits. If they work a major holiday, it can be double time. If they work a minor holiday, it can be 30% on top, and all of that. We will guide you with all of that, but generally it doesn't add up to too much more.
Mm-hmm. Any thoughts from the talent pool from other countries as well, Derek, that compared to, I know, a lot of people pulled outsourcing from Ukraine many years ago when the war started. And I think the two option in my mind right now is in either India or Philippines. Those are the two big the outsourcing markets. Any thoughts on other countries compared to what the benefits in the Philippines is?
Yeah, and to be straight, our marketplace, Outsource Accelerator, we list outsourcing firms globally, so it covers every outsourcing firm, literally every outsourcing firm in the world. In terms of outsourcing destinations, yes, Philippines and India are the two dominant, but there is, of course, Eastern Europe, which is very good, typically for technical developer roles, that sort of stuff. You also then have a lot of Asia that is emerging, sort of Vietnam and things like that, and of course you have South and Central America, which is good for nearshoring. They are, of course, very good if you need Spanish-speaking people. So each region kind of has its strengths and weaknesses. Each region does vary by cost as well. India is maybe sort of 20 to 30% cheaper still. Ukraine can be as much as 50 to 100% more expensive, or Eastern Europe generally. South America, it depends, but can be kind of 30 to 50% more expensive. So it varies. If you have big teams, you could almost have it like a smorgasbord. You go to Eastern Europe for your devs, whatever, and kind of blend it across the world. But if you're only dealing with sort of 5 to 10 or 15, I think there's enough staff in the Philippines that you can find great versions of whatever you want. And I think that there's extra value in having them all together within one environment, so that they are rubbing off against each other and collaborating and have that kind of environment. And also then you're not managing a lot of logistics of a lot of different countries and currencies and everything else.
Very interesting. Well, I think we probably provide a lot of insight to a lot of business leaders who are listening, who are either watching us or listening to us. These are the common questions I hear. I think you answered very, very well all those the questions I hear. So let's talk about your journey a little bit, Derek. You mentioned you came from hotel industry. How did you get involved in? You mentioned that outsourcing. We're looking for some solution for your company. So what inspires you to stay connected with outsourcing? What keeps you going with this business?
Yeah, look, like most people, you sort of fall into it. It's really, I'm driven by entrepreneurship and business. My first business was property development and investment. And then I got into service departments or corporate housing, a little bit like the
Here
Airbnb
in
model.
Philippines or in England?
In London, in central
London.
London. Yeah.
Okay.
And so that was my first business with property. Then my second business was leveraging the property into service departments. And then my third business was the outsourcing, which I used for my London business. So the London business, I bootstrapped that up to about $20 million revenues in central London. But we basically built the back end in the Philippines, and it started with just customer service. But very quickly, I realized, look, you can do everything in the Philippines. So we were doing, all the web design, all the sales, all the corporate sales, all the customer service. But also, we were managing the laundry, we were managing maintenance, we were buying all those little crazy soaps that you get in hotels from the Philippines, sourcing them, finding good ones, and then sending them all over to London. So managing all of the logistics. We were doing everything from the Philippines. It's amazing what you can do remotely. Then so we had probably 70% of our staff actually in the Philippines as opposed to in central London. And so I spent more and more time in the Philippines and, of course, saw the power of the outsourcing industry and wanted to evolve my next business then to become a marketplace representing the industry, because the industry is huge. It's incredible. It's sophisticated, but it's hard for people such as yourself and your listeners to really navigate around the industry. So I built the marketplace to help people explore the industry and learn about outsourcing.
Well, that is the biggest challenge that any business have. That our people is the biggest challenge, right? So, no matter how you look at it, no matter what business you're in, end of the day, we're in a people business. End of the day, right? And this is the biggest challenge for any business around people. Whether it doesn't, regardless of business you're in, it's all about people. End of the day, right? So, having the competitive advantage and having that different options to pull people from and move a business forward, I think that's a key for every business leaders, right? So I think what you talk about today is you outline very, very, strong option for businesses to start thinking about, hey, if I'm going to build strategy, if I'm going to build my team or business, I need to explore this option as well. With a lot of other options I'm looking at.
Yeah, look, I always say it's actually the biggest TAM in the world, because there's no bigger TAM than employment. Like
Yeah.
it's the sing. Well, and a lot of the businesses today, whether they're startups or tech companies or accounting firms or whatever, the biggest single cost is their staff. Especially if it's professional staff or whatever, because the majority of industry now is service based, and so staffing costs can be 60% of your P&L, 70% of your P&L.
Mm-hmm.
And, if you can drop that cost by 50, 60%, that is just so significant in today's economy where, you've got to try and become profitable and you've got to make things work and there's not so much external funding. It's such an incredible opportunity. And it's not just about saving money. The other way you could look at it is you could kind of triple your workforce for no extra cost, and imagine what you could do if you could triple your workforce compared to having, a standard local workforce. Think of all the other sort of activities you could do and the bigger business you could build with that. It's an incredible resource.
Yes. Well, that was one of the reasons why software development was outsourced. The first one, right? One software development is a very labor-intensive job. Another one is creativity is higher when you have people with the diverse backgrounds. When you build the teams with the different cultures, different backgrounds, the creativity is higher because everybody thinks differently. They come up with the different ideas, right? So that's where the creativity comes. Those are the reason when people start outsourcing a development work first, right? And I think that could apply to many other areas as well, the same way that creativity is higher when you have people from a different backgrounds.
Yeah, and look, honestly, I have a look at my website and my business, and I'm building a world-class tech startup, and I am the only non-Filipino. We have a world-class tech team. We have a CTO. We have a COO. We have CMO, we have all the hierarchy, we have full HR, we have a full team. Our core team is about 90 people, so we're still pretty small. But we're building a world-class company on a team that is a fraction of the cost, a fraction. I reckon we're saving, what would it be? Sort of $300,000 per month, $300,000 to $500,000 per month. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Good stuff. Anything else you want to share with the audience, Derek? Definitely business leaders, business owners think, listening to us, I learned so much from our discussion. I definitely encourage them to, reach out to you for conversation. As people building a strategy, they're building a plans. And a lot of business owners, I know CEOs, they challenge ways to grow their businesses again after what we've gone through for a few years. They're looking for those areas. What can I do to scale up a little bit, right? So they're looking for that building strategies. I will recommend they reach out to you, have a conversation with you, and see what options that opens up when you have a conversation. Any words you want to leave for audience, Derek?
Yeah, no, thanks. Look, come to the website, have a look. I also wrote a book called Inside Outsourcing. If you want to get the lowdown on the future of employment and global employment.
Where can people find the book, Derek? I'll put a link below this video.
Amazon, or it's on our website, but also Amazon, just called
I'll put a link below the video.
Outsourcing. Yeah. That'd be great. Thanks. Yeah, people can check that out. People can reach out to me as well. My email is Derek, DEREK, @outsourceaccelerator.com. And happy to have a chat. Look, it can be absolutely transformative. I'm not selling outsourcing, but just really explore it for your business, because the whole world is becoming globalized, and you can globalize your employment and your staff. It's, it's transformative, and soon it will be, it will be dangerous if you don't, because everyone else will be, and the world is becoming globalized. So it's,
you lose competitive advantage, right? So if you're gonna do the one way or just gonna stick with you lose competitive advantage. You gotta look for options. But definitely, hey, it was great perspective we shared. I learned so much. I had so many items I was thinking about. How do you build a team culture? You clarify a lot of those things for me. I'm sure people are listening or watching, they get, they got some insight from this discussion as well. I'm going to include a link below this video for your website and for LinkedIn and for your book as well. People can go check out your book as well. Yeah, I appreciate your time with spending the time with me and sharing all the information. It was a great discussion. I enjoyed it. Thank you so much for your time, Derek.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.